Do your colours sometimes feel garish and out of place? Are you struggling to make everything feel as though it's part of one cohesive whole? Well, you may have issues with your environment lighting, and that's what we're talking about today. Now, before I begin discussing the environment lighting, I'm going to talk you through the setup for the shot. Usually when I start sketching for an illustration, it takes me about 3 or 4 attempts to find something that I want to pursue. But the idea for this one came together pretty quickly. And I don't draw this deer. Nope, I draw a horrible demon. Because doesn't that sound like fun? It does to me, and so I jumped right in. And I had to recrop the image because it just didn't have the right vibe for this posture. And I wanted to make the trees kind of come in a bit closer and feel like bars in a prison, sort of containing this demon. The idea being that there was going to be some kind of person summoning this thing, but that the little human figure was really playing with dark things that they shouldn't. So obviously, your standard 3/4 lighting situation wasn't going to cut it for this scene. It needed to be a little bit more eerie and atmospheric than that, and so I went for some sort of fire beneath, lighting the character from below, because that gives a really unsettling look to things. And it's a really great way to hide some little lessons in with your work. If you're producing an illustration and you have to light everything from below, that really gets your mind working on understanding the forms in the anatomy. Now, with the initial setup for the shot established, it became very clear to me at this point that this illustration would be an excellent example for a discussion on environment lighting. Because if you were to just start by trying to draw the demon for this scene and then paint the background in afterwards, you would never, ever come up with a lighting situation like this. And that's the point. When you are painting a scene like this, you need to establish first and foremost, before you move ahead with anything else in the scene, the environment lighting. Because the only reason you can see anything is because it is being interacted with by the light within its environment. And that means that that light is absolutely 100% critical to getting your character to look correct when it is within an environment. The two things cannot be done separately. They must be taken as one whole. Now, I know that when I started drawing, I had a tendency to kind of sketch out a character or something and then start asking questions like, what color is my character's shirt? What color is their hair and their skin? But these questions are pretty much meaningless if you don't ask the first question. What color is my environment lighting? Because all colour is relative. But what exactly do I mean by all colour is relative? It's kind of a difficult question to get your head around. But what if I was to ask you something simple, like, what colour is my face? What if I did this? What colour is my face now? Now? It's kind of a meaningless question, isn't it? What colour is my face? Unless you know what colour the light is. But you see, this colour conundrum doesn't end with the colour of the light, because when I say colour is relative, I mean colour is relative, as in your brain will literally see colours as different depending on what they are surrounded by. I'm not kidding, and I'm going to show you. Now, I want you to just sit back and look at this dot. And I want you to tell me, what colour is the dot? It's obvious, right? It's kind of blue. It's similar to the blue on the left-hand side of this gradient, right? But what happens if I do this? It's not blue anymore, is it? It's kind of orangey, sort of. I'm not messing with the color of this dot. I'm just messing with the color behind the dot. Your brain is changing the color of the dot. And look, this is what color the dot actually is. It's just grey. And this doesn't just happen with orange and blue. This happens with any two colors that are opposite to one another on the color wheel. Take a look. What color is the dot now? what about now? It's amazing how much your brain will mess with the colors. So I understand that this all sounds a bit crazy, right? We don't think of colors changing or being relative to one another, and it all just seems weird to us because red is red and green is green and blue is blue, and that's a fact. But you have to break these things down into first principles. We did not evolve over millions of years to be good at art. That's not why we are the way we are. The reason we see anything, the reason we hear anything, the reason we feel things is because those senses developed over millions of years to bring to our attention information within our environment that may be important to our survival. So imagine now that the sun is setting. The colors are becoming warmer and more orange. It's getting darker. And our brain is starting to work really hard to try and separate things because it all starts to look a little bit the same as the light starts to fade. So it begins to exaggerate the differences between adjacent colors, because if you're looking at a green forest, you want to see that orange tiger hiding there. And even though you are looking at something that is probably almost dark grey in color, your brain is going to try and make you think that you are looking at an orange tiger, because all of the other monkeys that didn't see the tiger got eaten by it. So, okay, we've established that your brain is lying to you. It's changing the colors, it's messing with everything, but what do we do about it? Doesn't that just mean that it's impossible? If your brain's just going to change the colors, then how can we possibly know what color to actually use? Well, it's actually pretty simple. You see, in that example that I just showed you, I had an orange and a blue side to a gradient, and the dot was just grey, with no saturation or hue whatsoever. And those two colors are complementary to one another. They're on the opposite sides of the color wheel. So let's say that we've just painted this scene. It's being lit by this nice blue moonlight and everything's got this eerie blue tinge to it. But we want to put a big orange pumpkin into the scene. Now orange and blue are complementary on the color wheel, and we know that if we put a grey object into a scene that is predominantly this blue, our brain is going to make that grey look kind of orange. So instead of doing this and just putting an orange pumpkin into the scene, which looks garish and awful, put a grey pumpkin into the scene and then gradually warm it up until you reach the desired colour. It's going to still be a grey, but in this scene it looks pretty saturated. And once you get the hang of this, you don't need to start with a grey object, just put in a desaturated version of the colour that you're looking for, and then play around with it until it feels like it fits within the lighting scheme. But we're not done yet, because we need to pay attention to the lights in our scene, and we have this moon. It's going to be casting some soft blue light into the scene, and the surface of this pumpkin is going to receive some of that light. So let's just put that in there. Voila! One big orange pumpkin that's made out of this colour. And this effect doesn't only happen with orange and blue, it happens with any two colours that oppose one another on the colour wheel. I want to make that clear. And another interesting thing is that it happens less and less gradually as those colours approach one another on the colour wheel. So you kind of get this rough guide of how much saturation to add into a colour if it's within a scene that has a light of a certain colour. Just think about it in that way, experiment, play with it a little bit, and see what feels right. Because at the end of the day, perception is basically the definition of a personal experience. And that means that we're not looking for any hard and fast rules here. This is not an exact science. We're just looking for a rule of thumb to get ourselves in the ballpark so that our colours feel harmonious with one another and it reflects some aspect of reality that we are trying to convey. Because once you understand how these things kind of work, you can begin to play with it and extract just even more mood and juice out of your images until you've got these really deep vibes going on. So why not give it a shot? Play with some really intense and fun lighting scenarios and see if you can extract some more mood from your artwork. And that's all I've got time for today, because this one is just about done. And here's the final. Thanks for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, because this is YouTube and that stuff helps out a great deal. Now, last week I announced that I had started a Discord server, and we already have a really cool little community going on over there. Everyone is super supportive and friendly and really energizing one another to keep on going and work hard. So if you want some extra advice, or you want to ask me specific questions or make suggestions about the show, then jump on over to the Discord server. There's a link down below in the show notes. And until next time, guys, keep drawing and I'll see you later.